Amy. Are we ready? Noswaith dda, croeso. Good evening, welcome. Before we begin, may I advise a few housekeeping issues? This meeting will be recorded and uploaded to the Council's website as soon as possible after the meeting. Can I ask, come on in, Councillor Perry. Can I also ask all members that mics and cameras are switched off unless you are invited to speak? For remote attendees at home, should you wish to speak, would you please indicate by raising the hand function? For members present in the chamber who wish to speak, please raise your hand physically, and when invited by myself to speak, press your microphone button once. Please also ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not in the chat function for the sake of this recording. With regard to voting on recommendations, if there's no dissent to a recommendation, I will accept the silence as agreement. If an electronic vote is called for during the course of the meeting, then advice on how to participate will be provided. So moving on to agenda item 1, apologies of absence. I'm aware of Councillor Campbell, Councillor Franks and Councillor Iannucci Williams prior to the meeting. Do we have any others?
Councillor Hanks.
Thank you.
Councillor Franks is on the call.
Oh, I've been told Councillor Hanks is on the call. Councillor, he said Hanks. Yeah, he said Hanks. Sorry, Rob.
Councillors Champion and Bruce.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Councillor William. And could I just clarify whether it's Councillor Hanks or Councillor Franks who is on the call, please?
It's Councillor Hanks.
No, Franks.
Councillor Franks is on the call. Councillor Hanks sent apologies. But blame the chief. Councillor Franks, do you wish to speak?
I am here.
Thank you very much. That's great. Agenda item 3. Is the council happy to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of April and the annual meeting held on the 7th of May? Okay, I see no dissent, so the minutes are approved. Agenda item 4. I missed agenda item 2, declarations of interest.
Yes.
Very
Yes,
sorry, Councillor Johnson. Back to agenda item 2. Do we have any, and what are their nature? Councillor Perry.
Right, it's working. Good. Hi. Good evening, everybody. Just very quickly, having recently sustained financial and time losses similar to the sub-postmasters caught in the Horizon scandal, I've had 4 years of dealing with code of conduct issues as a community councillor.
Is this a declaration of interest, Councillor Perry?
It is sort of. I need some advice, having had this huge expense defending myself from the thugs in suits, missing funerals, holidays, etc. As members will know, or may not know, less than 5% of people who appeal to the adjudication panel are successful. And
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but is this related to this meeting?
It is, yeah. I have a question.
Because what agenda item is it related to?
Well, I am concerned, having been reported to the Ombudsman by the former monitoring officer for copying in Jane Hutt MS into emails I sent to officers of the Vale Council in 2021 as a community councillor prior to being elected here.
I'm really sorry, Councillor Perry, this isn't related to any agenda items. Can you tell me what agenda item this is? I'm really sorry. In the rules of the meeting, if I'm speaking, you can't speak.
Sorry.
What agenda item is this related to?
It's general, because as there are several...
No, it's not agenda. It's not on the agenda. I'm really sorry, but it's not. You could have asked us a question.
I am declaring a question to the monitoring officer because as several employees of Jane Hutt are present at this meeting, can I have reassurance that if I speak in front of them, I will not be potentially breaching the code of conduct, having been reported for doing such things as a community councillor?
Okay. I'm afraid that's not a declaration of interest. Vicky, can you advise on this?
Yes, just to confirm, just to confirm that, no, that isn't relevant to the agenda items today, but I'm happy to speak to you after this meeting, Councillor Perry, in relation to any concerns that you have.
Yeah, because having me report to the Ombudsman for, an email,
Can we
copying in
the
people-
meeting continue now, Councillor Perry? I'm happy to talk to you after, okay? Thank you. Agenda item 4. I am so sad to announce the passing of my fellow ward member, Councillor Howard Clive Hamilton. Howard has been a committed Labour member for so long and been a councillor for Barry Town Council as well as the Vale of Glamorgan Council. Howard was the Mayor of Barry in 2009 to 2010 and the Mayor of the Vale of Glamorgan between 2014 and 15 with his wife Carol by his side as consort. Howard has served as school governor for many years and was the chair of the Board of Trustees of Goodman Down Children's Centre. He volunteered for many years for Barry Beavers Swimming Group and later Air Ambulance Wales, which were both charities very close to his heart. Councillor Lovelock Edwards has shared with me some of her memories of Howard. She's told me, when I first moved to the Vale, Howard and indeed his wife Carol were welcoming and treated me with care and kindness. They introduced me to fellow members and were always reminding me that they were on the other end of the phone if I needed to ask any questions. When I stood as parliamentary candidate in 2018, Howard supported me, quietly behind the scenes, giving words of encouragement. He treated me like everyone else he encountered, with compassion and a natural sense of solidarity. He knew his town and his community, and his contribution to our local party and to our council is very much appreciated. Personally, I will remember Howard for his hard work and loyal commitment to the Labour Party. Howard was kind and compassionate. His caring nature was clearly reflected at all times, and I have no doubt that everyone who has met him would feel similar. He continued to do his utmost best as a councillor, even when his health was deteriorating. He will be missed. When I spoke to Howard after he had spent some time in hospital last year, he told me he was very excited to be home as he needed some of Carol's home cooking, which was really heartwarming to hear. He was much loved by all his family. And as a council, we want to pass our condolences to all of his family. Please can we mark his passing with a minute's silence. Thank you all. I, as Mayor, have had a busy few months and have attended a variety of events which I've been honoured to be invited to. Alongside the Royal British Legion, I was part of a service to commemorate Dunkirk Day on the 4th of June. I'm keen to foster intergenerational opportunities, so invited a class of pupils from the school I'm a governor at, High Street Primary, along to this service and tea afterwards in the civic offices. It was really lovely to see different ages mixing and veterans passing on their history to a new generation in the Vale. I was also pleased to run a Guess the Weight of the Chain stall at High Street Primary Summer Fair. Fun was had by all, thanks to all teachers and staff at this school, as well as all schools in the Vale, who give so much energy to our young people throughout the school year. Have a great summer holiday. Run for Wales had their 10K back on Barry Island in June, which the Vale is really proud to host. I was thrilled to start the race and see the spirit, energy and enthusiasm from all involved. I managed to take part in the fun run, and that was enough for me. Many thanks to Run for Wales and council officers ensuring this event was held, and I hear the same is planned for next year. Barry Leisure Centre has received funding from Shared Prosperity Fund for a new state-of-the-art strength and functional training zone, which I was really pleased to open. This was alongside Wales' strongest man, Jacob Brooke, who also trains at the gym. We are really lucky to have this in the Vale and so needed to improve health of all our residents. I recommend going to see it for yourself. And we'll move on to agenda item 5, questions from the public. We have received 5 questions. Question 1, removal of litter bins from David Weston to Councillor Wilson, Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weston, for your question, and here is my answer. Could I firstly commend you on your litter clearing efforts, which are much appreciated. It is disappointing there is a need for our residents to collect the litter dropped by others, and whilst the highest density of litter bins could assist to reduce the amounts of material dropped, this is not always the case. It should not be forgotten that dropping litter is a crime, and I am safe in the knowledge that most of our residents who use our litter bins will not engage in a criminal act if they are unable to find a public litter bin along their walking route. As regards the current litter bin situation, at the start of the financial year, we removed several litter bins to reduce duplication. There were often many multiple bins in close proximity to address their abuse by residents depositing their household waste in them, to assist with the transition to on-street recycling and to reduce our service operating costs. We have noted that this arrangement has been largely successful, no marked increase in littering in most of the areas where litter has been removed. Residents and visitors are even making use of the remaining bins, or in some cases taking a litter home with them should a bin not be available on their walking route. The Council's Neighbourhood Services team have started reviewing areas where litter bins were removed, where concerns have been raised post-removal, and this was always the intention. The team had to ensure there was sufficient time for habits to change as the public became aware that certain bins they have used in the public were no longer available. I have raised all your litter bin concerns with the service area and require that litter service be undertaken at these locations and where necessary provision reassessed. Should any alterations be necessary, this will be implemented promptly on completion of the surveys. Finally, I would like to thank you once again for your litter collection work. Should you wish to continue doing this, I will arrange for the Council Neighbourhood Services team to contact you and ensure they've supplied bags and any other equipment necessary to do this work safely. I will also arrange a collection point for litter picking waste as necessary. I'm also aware that Keep Wells Tidy does this in many of our libraries in the Vale as well. So thank you, that's my answer.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Question 2, regarding the inflatable aqua park from Max Wallace to Councillor Wilson again, Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services.
That's not mine.
No, it's to the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Sustainable Places. Sorry, Councillor Brooks.
That's all right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr Wallace, for your question. The container units associated with the Aqua Park have been placed in an area used historically throughout the year as an overflow car park for visitors. This area has been mown throughout the year to ensure that the space is suitable for vehicles to park. Hence, the area is already heavily disturbed and there's been no adverse impact on the water vole population in situ during the current site use. The area where the cars have been historically parked and areas mown have an adequate buffer zone to the ditch and the stream, which is left unmanaged to protect the ditch stream edge and the water vole habitat. This buffer zone will remain in place throughout the period of the trial to ensure that the habitat remains protected. As there is no impact in the area, there has been no requirement to instigate any further measures. Natural Resources Wales are fully aware of the population distribution within the country parks environs, and as part of the Council's forward work plan, the water vole population will continue to be monitored as it has been since their introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Question 3, East Quay Park, from Polly Graham to Councillor Wilson, Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Graham, for your question. This is my reply. The information provided at the time to the newspaper was given in good faith, following confirmation of the opening time frame by the Development Consortium. The latest information we have from the Consortium is that the opening space on East Quay is subject to a standard safety audit before it can be open to the public. The Consortium is very hopeful that the park will be open in August 2025 apart from some seeded areas which may need to be reserved pending the grass developing more substantially. This to ensure that those areas are not damaged by being accessible prematurely. And that's my answer.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Question 4, Rivers and Sea Watch, from Linda Mack to Councillor Brooks, Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Sustainable Places. Cabinet Member for Neighbourhood and Building Services. Sorry.
That's okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mack, for your question. I am pleased to advise that the Council has been working in partnership with Natural Resources Wales, popularly known as NRW, to develop a bespoke water quality model to enable us to provide bathing water quality information in real time to bathers for 2 designated bathing beaches in Barry, Ajaxon's Bay and Whitmore Bay. To facilitate this, work has been in progress over the last 2 years to collect detailed water quality data from both beaches, along with meteorological data such as rainfall, UV radiance and river level data, which has enabled research consultants to develop a robust statistical model to better understand what is affecting the water quality at these 2 locations. We have finalised this work over the course of 25-26, and we are hopeful that display screens which will be provided the predictive water quality data the beach users will be installed at the beaches for the 2026 bathing season. Introducing pollution risk forecasting Barry will inform beach management decisions and provide timely water quality advice to the public to enable them to make an informed decision whether to swim. It also offers resilience to the overall bathing water classifications through the discounting of samples in certain conditions when a warning of predicted poor water quality is given. It should, however, be noted that the Welsh Government funded project has cost more than £1 million, and this has been in development for several years. Whilst its real-time water quality monitoring is extremely positive for future users of these 2 Barry beaches, similar arrangements at other designated bathing areas will not be easy to replicate, both in terms of time, but also due to retire capital investment. The Council is, however, very much open to this prospect should further Welsh Government funding become available for this purpose in the future. And that concludes my answer.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Question 5, Cosmeston Aqua Park, from Rhea Robinson to Councillor Brooks, Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Sustainable Places.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mrs Robinson. The Council's countryside section that manages Cosmeston Country Park will continue to water and supervise the licence that's been granted to the Aqua Park Company for the summer months to ensure compliance with the relevant conditions imposed by Natural Resource Wales in its assent to use the Eastern Lake. The company has also produced a risk assessment which covers the safe use of equipment and issues such as prevention of injury, water testing and use of equipment, etc. The countryside manager remains in constant contact with the company, who are ensuing issues such as local employment and access floor are dealt with as part of their operation. Finally, I can confirm, yet again, that a report will be brought back to Cabinet and place scrutiny following the termination of the trial in the autumn, which will include an assessment of the success or otherwise of the pilot. The assessment will be undertaken to consider environmental sustainability, community impact, including any social behaviour, visitor enjoyment and financial viability, and will include a recommendation for the future based on the assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Councillor Wilson, could you? Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 6. Reference from Democracy and Boundary Commission Cymru, Vale of Glamorgan Electoral Arrangements Review, Community Liaison Committee from the 1st of July 2025. Leader, can you present the report, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, as mentioned, this is a review, a reference from Community Liaison Committee on the 1st of July of this year. As members would be aware, there was a recent community review undertaken within the Vale of Glamorgan, and the recommendations of that review have been accepted by Welsh Government ministers. So now we move on to a review of electoral arrangements for each principal area, as we are required to do at least once every 12 years. Within the report, the electoral arrangements are laid out, but things like the number of members of the council for the principal area, the number, type and boundaries of the electoral wards into which the principal area is for the time being divided for the purpose for the election of members, the number of members to be elected for any electoral ward in the principal area, and the name of any electoral ward. The electoral review for the Vale of Glamorgan commenced, or the Commission commenced it on the 5th of June this year, and encouraged the Vale of Glamorgan Council to provide a scheme of effective representations as part of the consultation by 16th of June 2025. So, in effect, this report set out a set of initial observations for consideration by the Boundary Commission, and the Council will have an opportunity to comment further at subsequent stages. So this is not the end. The Boundary Commission will come back to us with their thoughts following these. We will have an opportunity to take a more considered approach of that. However, it doesn't stop any individual member putting in a submission by the deadline, which is the 16th of July at the moment. So any individual town community council or individual members from town and community councils could make representations directly, as can any members from here. So from our perspective today, the initial thoughts are laid out before you in the report, and it is for us to approve so it can be submitted to the Commission by the deadline of the 16th of July 2025, and I therefore move.
And I'll second that recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Ernest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Could I draw members' attention to paragraph 1.6 of the report? The page is not numbered, but basically it's the paragraph that refers to the shortfall in not only the Plymouth ward, but also other wards as well. The Plymouth ward has been more than 50% deficient in terms of the number of councillors for the last few years. And although at that time representations were made for an additional member, which should have been granted as many as 10 years ago, that was denied by the Boundary Commission. The Plymouth ward is well below or below the county average and should already have 3 members. But if we now were to add the new proposed ward of Cosmeston, which is somewhere around 450 electorate, it would mean that the Plymouth ward would be not only much larger, but it would still be deficient in terms of the membership of councillors for the area. I know that the Plymouth ward has somewhere around 5,500 electorate. So if you add in the 450 or so, you're looking in the region of 6,000. I can be corrected on that, Madam Mayor, but that is the level. So I would, on a personal level, want to take issue with paragraph 1.6 and maybe ask that council draw attention to this in their representations to the Boundary Commission, that in fact the representation should be looked at carefully to ensure that the Plymouth ward and indeed the Cosmeston ward are not underrepresented in future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ernest. Leader.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak?
Okay, sorry. Councillor Johnson.
Diolch yn fawr, Mair.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you to everybody for putting their headphones on. I'd just like to start by apologising for the unusual way that I'm dressed for this meeting tonight. And is anyone able to hear what I'm saying? Is it everybody or just Councillor Perry? Can anybody hear me at all? Some people can hear me. Some people can hear me, but a few can't. I believe there are several people here in the back who do not have the correct equipment, but the people plugged in can hear. For being able to hear this. The ones who have them can hear me. The people who have them already can hear me. It's just a lack of them, is it? Brilliant. That guy just indicated he can hear me. Great. Is everybody else ready? Is the question? Yes? Great. I'd like to begin then just by apologising for the unusual way in which I'm dressed this evening. Unfortunately, there was a delay on the train back from London this afternoon, and so I am still proudly wearing my Wales shirt from the football last night. I'm very sorry, Councillor Johnson. We ready? Councillor Parry, are you now ready? Can you hear me? Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk tonight. We've been through this process with this report and the communities very recently, and during that process, the Commission made a number of recommendations, including adding the number of seats which are available in the Vale of Glamorgan on this main council, the local authority council here. I do understand, of course, that there is a due process to be followed in revising and revisiting once again the numbers which are made up, and that is what is happening now. But in truth, a number of the mistakes, the errors, if that is the word, in the case of this revision, are as a result, a direct result of the recommendations by the Commission. The Commission suggested that Cosmeston ward became a part of Penarth town. The Commission, in response to the feelings of local people, then added Llanmaes, which has a number of to a number of other community councils, and so some of the problems that we are now trying to solve here are simply responses to problems that were created by the Commission in their discussions and in their last report. And so one thing just to note is the fact that the numbers are important, and the number of voters to each representative is important. As someone you know has represented a ward that until the next election has an underrepresentation problem, it is important, but it is not more important than any other factor. And so where I'm going with this is just that we did agree the report by the Commissioner about the communities, and that did make recommendations for the next set of elections to the local authority here. And I do believe by making our way through this process, we are overthinking what is happening here. I think in having the addition of 4 additional councillors through the creation of a new ward on the Glanau, and by adding to Dyfan and making a number of other changes is quite enough changes to be getting on with, and we don't need any additional changes. So I'm just worrying a little bit about this idea of this going through with the support and the backing of the council, as a recommendation. I listened to the conversations in the committee alongside the town and county councils, and there was not a lot of support for this from them compared to what happened with the last report. And so I do worry about driving this through as it stands and putting our seal of approval as a council on this. And so I'm simply warning about this, because in the past, what has happened is they have perhaps misunderstood some of the points that have been put forward by people, and I want to ensure that this doesn't happen this time. And they're not going out of their way to create seats unnecessarily. Thank you.
Diolch, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Godfrey. Councillor Godfrey, we can't hear you, I'm afraid. Have you pressed all three buttons? No, we still can't hear you, I'm afraid. Councillor Godfrey, do you want to log back out and then come back in, and we'll come back to you? Is that okay? Councillor Wilson, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a contribution. I think the point has been well made by the leader that this review occurs every 12 years. And I think we need to be thinking about the future and future-proofing our wards going forward. I think we've already had the debate and we've had the final decision made on community reviews, and that is done and dusted as far as we're all concerned. So those community council elections will be fought on those wards, and that is confirmed by the Boundary Commission and Welsh Government. In terms of the subsequent review, which is very recent, it's a review on our boundaries for the borough elections in 2027. And clearly that is something that we all could contribute towards. But I would argue the point strongly that it's about future-proofing our wards going forward to 2039.
Councillor Godfrey. I think it's because you may have connected a headset after joining. You might need to leave the meeting, close the browser and then log back in. Is that okay? I can see your hands come down. I'll come. Is anyone else?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Wonderful.
Oh,
Off you go.
okay. Thank you, Mayor. The point I wanted to make, after reading the report, I was somewhat perplexed. I understand that there was a dual recommendation in it, possibly increasing the size of the ward and going to 2 councillors instead of 1. So amalgamating St Nicholas, Llancarvan and Wenvo. On that, prior to the 2022 election, Bonville, Stern and St Nicholas were taken out of the Wenvo ward and put into the St Nicholas, Llancarvan ward. And in the recent review, it proposed that Dyffryn and St Lithans are taken out of the Wenvo ward. So that then, coming to the point of Councillor Wilson, takes into account for any future growth or development in Wenvo. But also on page 11, I refer to point 49, which says that whilst multi-member electoral wards are likely to be effective and convenient in urban areas, they're less effective in rural areas. So I think that ought to be noted going forward. And I don't see, after taking 4 areas out of the Wenvo ward, combining Wenvo with Llancarvan and St Nicholas is going to serve the community any better. Thank you.
Leader, can I come back to you? Oh, sorry, Councillor Perry first. Thank you.
Yeah, as Russell's just mentioned, my ward, the St Nicholas and Llancarvan ward is 10 miles in length from north to south. So it is a huge area to cover, and it is sort of partially cut off from Wenvo. So we are kind of divided. So This is the early stages yet. I have concerns that the area being rural is quite massive, really, for representing people and getting around to see people.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. Leader.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I think I need to reiterate what I said earlier, that there are no proposals as yet. These are just sort of looking at issues that will need to be explored. And, you know, as a result mainly of population density, and you can have a look at sort of paragraph 1.5 onwards, and, you know, it talks about potential numbers of councillors, etc. While anyone who wants to put in a comment direct to the Commission by the 16th is perfectly able to, the time for us to comment is not now. It's to approve this submission in terms of flagging up the idea, the areas of discussion, and I hope that we will be able to have cross-party constructive dialogue here, as we did with the previous review, where all parties were invited to participate. So I would again say this is for us to approve now going forward to the Commission, and I'd reiterate that.
Thank you, Leader. Can that be approved, or do councillors want to vote? Great, so that recommendation is approved. Moving on to agenda item 7. To consider the following proposals from the Executive in relation to the Council's policy framework and budget. I've been told this has been circulated to members. Leader, can you present this report, please?
I can, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. This is a reference from Cabinet on the 3rd of July, and this is the annual review report on Treasury management. We normally get this sort of twice a year as an update closer to the budget. The report discusses compliance and prudential indicators and Treasury limits. It meets the requirements of the SIPFA Code of Practice on Treasury Management, the SIPFA Prudential Code for Capital Finance in Local Authorities, and the Welsh Government Revised Guide on Local Government Investment. So in brief, it demonstrates compliance with prudential indicators and Treasury limits set out in the annual Treasury and investment strategy. It demonstrates that the local authority borrowing is prudent, sustainable and affordable as the measures are designed to ensure. The Council's prudential indicators have been revised to include additional liabilities brought onto the Council's balance sheet with the introduction and implementation of IFRS 16 leasing from April 2024, and also looked at the minimum revenue provision policy set out in the 2024 strategy. The amendments to that were approved in full council on the 10th of March earlier this year. He looked at the borrowing and the capital financing requirements. The council undertakes capital expenditure on long-term assets, and so, as we know, they can be financed in a range of ways, which is detailed in the report. But the council, again, in 2024-25, maintained an under-borrowed position, which meant that the capital borrowing needed was not fully funded with external loan debt, as cash supporting the council's reserves, balances and cash flow were used as an interim measure. So that actually means that we're not having to pay interest on that. The council externally borrowed 38 million, and the maturity dates for that were between 1 and 7 years during 2024-25. 36 million was borrowed from the Public Works Loan Board and 2 million from a local authority. Our borrowing requirement increased by 3.364 million last year, and that gave us a total capital financing requirement of just over 2.2 million on the 31st of March this year. And at the same time, the council held just under 170 million of gross external borrowing and other long-term debt liability. So therefore, as I said, we were under-borrowed by approximately 29.4 million as of the 31st of March. The external borrowing was well within the authorised limit and operational boundary set, and the council also took an opportunity to prematurely repay the lender's option, borrower's option loan for 4 million in August 24, as there was an option to repay without penalty. The total interest paid on external borrowing during 24-25 was 6.59 million, and the debt portfolio at 31st of March this year, with interest rates payable, is listed within the report. The table also shows the movement of the portfolio from April 24 to March 25. I say it every year, but the council has a cautious approach to risk, with the priority to safeguard capital and manage investments in-house, investing only with those institutions which meet the minimum credit rating criteria and are included on the approved lending list laid out in the investment strategy. I said that the report goes into greater detail, but they said the total investment balance as of 31st of March 2025 was 17.19 million. I said this report has come to us for approval. I'm sure that we are due another training session. That'll probably be around the time of the budget, but in the meanwhile I would move approval.
And I'll second that recommendation.
Thank you, Leader. I see no hands raised, therefore this recommendation is approved. Agenda item 8, the use of the urgent decision procedures under Article 15.14 of the Constitution. Is Council happy to move the use of the urgent decision procedures B to E en bloc?
Yeah.
Great. The use of the urgent decision procedure is noted. Agenda item 9, motions submitted by Councillor Carroll and Councillor Thomas. Councillor Carroll, would you like to present your motion, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and I move the motion in my name and that of Councillor Rees-Thomas. It is with regret, Madam Mayor, that we've brought this motion forward this evening. I say regret because the motion should not have been necessary. The Council should have listened to residents' objections and not proceeded with the Aqua Park. To be clear, Madam Mayor, the Conservative group opposes the Aqua Park like the majority of residents. The motion only does not explicitly call for opposition or removal because our group were informed that doing so would render it out of order, as it would negate a decision taken by the authority within the past 6 months. This is despite the fact that this matter has not been considered by full council before this evening. Cosmeston is, Madam Mayor, as we know, a quiet, peaceful and tranquil location. It is certainly not suitable for a development of this nature. It is therefore hardly surprising that there has been widespread public opposition to the plans, but that opposition has been ignored. This is just the latest example of this authority not engaging with residents and instead imposing decisions from on high. In my own ward of Landock, there has been widespread opposition to the development from all ages, from teenagers to working mums and dads to pensioners. And it is particularly concerning, Madam Mayor, that the council leader took a heavy-handed, high and mighty approach when approaching this matter. Instead of engaging with campaigners and opponents of the park in a positive manner, she chose to lecture them, accusing them of spreading misinformation and malicious tripe. This is not acceptable and is not the way to deal with members of the public and their genuine concerns. If incorrect information was being shared in the public domain, there are ways to clarify it in a polite, respectful and courteous manner, not imply nefarious and malicious intent on the part of people who often genuinely have the best interests of our communities at heart. There has been a pattern in recent times, Madam Mayor, of the term misinformation being weaponised to shut down debate and legitimate criticism. And I certainly hope that the leader's remarks were not an attempt to do so here. It's quite clear that they've caused a lot of hurt and upset, and it would be right and proper for the leader to apologise for the manner in which she has handled the whole affair. Campaigners against the Aqua Park have today shared freedom of information responses of correspondence between the councillor and the Aqua Park developers. These include references to a potential 15-year term and a suggestion that things should be kept quiet until it's truly over the line. Will the leader confirm if this was indeed the case, as these published emails appear to suggest? To conclude, Madam Mayor, it's quite clear that these plans have been botched from start to finish. It's time for this administration to admit the whole thing was a huge error and immediately begin steps to correct it by removing the Aqua Park from Cosmeston. And I urge all members to support the motion. I so move.
Second, Chair, and I reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Councillor Franks.
Thank you, Mayor. I do find it staggering that this matter, that the Cabinet has handled this matter so badly. Residents have been treated with contempt, and this was compounded by comments that caused considerable offence to members of the public. The release of the emails from the Vale has been very revealing. Can Cabinet members confirm that they have seen these emails, and your detailed response to the comments would be of great interest to the public? The email trail starts in February with the comment, includes the comment, essential to avoid any publicity about your move. And I presume that means that came from the Vale. Also, there's a comment, move forward behind the scenes. On the 10th of March from Aqua, there's a comment, we play down it until it is truly over the line. This all gives the clear appearance of keeping residents in the dark, deliberately so. So I ask the Cabinet, how can you treat residents in this shameful manner? Thank you, Mayor.
Leader.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought I'd come in at this stage, seeing as some of it is a direct and personal attack. This conversation goes back quite a while. I think if we have a first look at what this motion says, it says that the decision of the administration to open an aqua park, well, pilot, and I will explain the use of pilot very specifically. Recognises that Cosmeston is a quiet, peaceful and country location that is threatened by a development of nature. It's an edge of town. It is quiet if you go to the back. You would hope it's quiet if you go to the conservation areas, but it's often not. And it is somewhere where we would like to be able to invest an awful lot more. I will go into more detail in relation to the comments that have been attributed to me. It's pretty obvious that people have not read the full post. So this goes back to an approach by the Aqua Park, and you might think it's strange, at the end of August 2023. A query came in to Councillor John, actually, and it was direct through Contact One Vale. It was directed through to the Place Directorate, and eventually they agreed to meet with the operator in October of 2023. I was told on the 3rd of October, and if anyone wants them, I've got all the emails here because I can get emails as well. 3rd of October about a proposed meeting with the comment, I know you're not keen. So there was a meeting, there were conversations, and on the 14th/15th of December, there were a few emails where the Aqua Park was refused. It was refused because it was for a long-term lease. It was refused, well, long-term, 3 years, with a 1-year break clause. But we decided that we didn't want to do that. And then it all went quiet until end of last year, basically January this year, where there was discussion over a 1-year pilot, with everything being removed in place. And to be honest, if you're going to make a decision, it's best to do it on evidence, isn't it? It's actually best to try and see whether or not it would work. I think I have to say that while I didn't know about this until the 3rd of October, Councillor Thomas had already had a meeting with them before then. And Councillor Thomas had actually emailed them on the 17th of September. So a few weeks before I'd actually been asked, saying, I wanted to thank you for the meeting. It was extremely useful. And this is a project worth exploring. And he then went on to contact our officers, asking them, I'm introducing you to hopefully facilitate a conversation. So I don't know where that went. But anyway, so that was the way that it went. It came to Cabinet for a full discussion. It went to scrutiny. A number of councillors spoke at scrutiny, and then it came back to Cabinet, where we said it would not be approved unless all due diligence was followed. So actually it was a bit late. It was later than we'd said in Cabinet. And it ultimately is only open from the 5th of July, I think, until first couple of weeks of September. So it's a pilot, so we can find out. So the research was done in terms of potential damage to the environment, potential damage to wildlife. Independent ecologist reports say there aren't. We've heard things about Chetty's warblers. If you look on Glamorgan bird site, they say locally breeding. I can give you the exact reference. It actually says locally common resident breeder. And actually...
Sorry, lady, you're at time now.
Right. So, but what I would say is the quotes attributed to me are completely misrepresented, and they are subject currently to a complaint. They will be dealt with formally.
Thank you, Lido. Councillor Ernest.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not going to talk personalities. I don't think that's helpful to any debate. I'm one of the local members that represents the Cosmeston Lakes Country Park area. And you would think in the normal course of consultation and discussion that either the appropriate officer would approach the elected members for the area, particularly when a major scheme such as this is proposed, and that they would come to the elected members and maybe give us a little bit of forewarning what was likely to come to Cabinet. This is what scrutiny is all about, isn't it? This is what consultation with elected members is all about. It's reaching out to the members who represent the area, the members who take the hassle when things go wrong. And let's not forget this, Madam Mayor, that this has caused untold trouble and effort for the local members. But that's what we're there for. That's what we've voted in for. So I have no problem with that, but that's the reality of it. We're told that this is an edge of town park. It's also a local nature reserve, and that's very important. It was received the Prince of Wales Award, if you go back, Chairman. But my point really is this, that I think the way in which the matter has come to scrutiny and to Cabinet has all been back to front. The first I knew of it was that there was a report from one of our directors, a late item, I believe, to either scrutiny or to Cabinet, I forget which, it can be looked up, saying that this late application had come in from Aqua Park to open a scheme. And I'm talking the last few weeks. I'm not talking about January or December or last October, or even last summer. I'm talking about this year, Madam Mayor. So I think it's been very badly handled, and I accept the point that my good friend, Councillor Franks from Dinas Powys makes as well. And I think that if the council is going to do this sort of thing again, it should be very careful to consult with local members. And by that, I would include the Surrey ward and include the Dinas Powys ward as well, because they're on the fringes of it. But I think we as local members have come under criticism from the public, and that is something that I reject, because I believe that any of the local members have been involved with it, whichever ward they represent, have done their best to try and answer the question they've been asked and to give the answers. And so I do hope, Madam Mayor, in the future, that any such schemes, whether it be involve Cosmeston or anglers' huts on the pier or cafes on Barry Island, that the local members are given advance warning and invited to give their views. And if their views that are not consistent with those of council, so be it. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ernest. Councillor Penn. Councillor Penn. Hold on 1 minute. We'll change you to Councillor Lovelock Edwards, if that's okay. Give us 1 minute. Fabulous.
Huzzah.
Councillor Penn.
Don't touch.
You're ready.
I'm with you. Thanks. Thank you, Chair. Where do we start? Councillors and other elected officials who should really apologise for their language. And I don't think one of them is Councillor Burnett. It's disappointing that Councillor Carroll and Councillor Thomas have brought this motion. At place scrutiny, no recommendations that the Aqua Park pilot scheme should not go ahead. Concerns were raised, including my own, but if the Conservative members were against it, then that's where they should have made their recommendations, instead of this personalised jump on the next politically opportune bandwagon of emotion. Apologies for that. I've had many conversations with people in Penarth telling me that they actually support the trial scheme. And at Penarth Carnival on Saturday, 10 people spoke to me showing support for the trial. They also expressed concerns as to the level of the debate that has taken place on social media. It seems again that those who shout the loudest and shout everyone down on social media think that's the prevailing opinion. People who support the scheme have not gone on social media to express their opinions because of the abuse that they receive. It's, what's the word? Lamentable that councillors in this chamber and elected officials outside of this chamber have, instead of having a civilised debate based on actual facts, decided to spread misinformation and actually just lies. They should really reflect on their language. The level of debate and tone around this has been saddening, in my opinion. I express concerns.
Point of order, Mayor. Point of order, Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Franks.
Councillor Penn has made a very serious allegation about councillors lying. Is he accusing me of lying?
There have been untruths spoken about the Aqua Park. I'm not naming anyone, but there have been untruths. You can use whatever word you want. I use the word lies. You're not allowed to use that word, so untruths, let's call it that, shall we? False, alternate facts. I'm still speaking, Councillor Franks. I'm still speaking, Councillor Franks.
Councillor Franks, is this a point of order?
It is. It is. These are serious allegations that are being made. I would ask for guidance from the monitoring officer.
Thank you.
Regarding those comments. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. Vicky?
No.
Thank you, Councillor Franks. If Councillor Penn could respond to Councillor Franks's points that he's just made, so that there's clarification.
Some of the level of debate around this has not been factual. Let's put it that way. Does that help? There we go. I expressed concerns over water quality at the place scrutiny meeting in March, where we all had opportunities to make comments and recommendations. I was assured that nothing would happen without proper testing and being signed off by the NRW, and testing is being carried out continuously. I was a bit disappointed to see the pricing, as I'd asked for good concessions for young people, but I welcome the chance for local young people being employed, and is a summer job that I would have relished as a youngster. It's an 8-week trial with everything being removed from September the 14th, I think, if I'm correct, and we will thoroughly evaluate the trial then. If it's proven to be detrimental to wildlife and not a success, and I support the trial scheme, then I'll hold my hands up and say we tried it and it didn't work. But I'm not going to support this motion and will be voting against it. And it's a shame that it's been personalised and politicised. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Penn. Councillor Lloyd-Selby.
Thank you, Mayor. I chaired the Environment and Regeneration Scrutiny Committee that a number of councillors have referred to this evening. We received a report on the proposed pilot in March, and as councillors have indicated, a number of concerns and queries were raised at that time and addressed during our discussion. Committee was assured that the area designated as a site of special scientific interest would be maintained, and we were also assured that the Council's countryside and ecology services had confirmed the summer activity should not impact wildlife. Restrictions on leisure activity in the Western Lake would be maintained, and as councillors have mentioned, Natural Resources Wales would be required to approve the pilot before it could proceed with water quality being tested regularly. These and other issues are reflected in the recommendation made by committee back to Cabinet. Councillor Carroll has said that the pilot is opposed by the Conservative group, but when this issue was considered by scrutiny, there was no recommendation from any committee member, including the Conservative members, that the pilot shouldn't go ahead. Indeed, the committee welcomed the leisure operator's intention to create and recruit for jobs locally. Critically, committee recognised the need to take steps to maintain a balance between the proposed leisure activities and those that were already being undertaken and enjoyed by users of the park. I have to say, I'm not sure if this activity is appropriate in Cosmeston, but that's the whole point of the pilot, to find out. And as others have said, when members had an opportunity to scrutinise the proposal, while there were reasonable concerns and questions raised by members from all parties, there was no suggestion that the pilot shouldn't go ahead. And just finally, Mayor, I agree with Councillor Ernest that talking about personalities in relation to these issues is unhelpful. And given this council's recent commitment to ensuring civility in public life, it's really disappointing that the leader of the Conservative group has chosen to personalise this issue in the motion before us, and I will not be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd Selby. Councillor Brooks. I'm just going to let people know quick. Sorry, just to let you know, we do have 30 minutes. We're getting close to that time now. We can then take it on for another 15 if people are happy with that. Is that okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'm the Cabinet member that brought this report to Cabinet, and then it went on to scrutiny. And I think we just need to reflect back a little bit. Many of us have used Cosmeston for many years, and that eastern part of the lake has been used for leisure use for a long, long time. And there have been activities such as paddleboarding and kayaking, and actually quite some time ago, which I didn't actually realise, there was actually speedboating on the lake, which I didn't know, but actually when I looked into it, speedboating was held there. And as already been mentioned, the West Lake will remain activity free and solely for wildlife. That has never even been contemplated that the Western Lake would be used. The whole purpose of this pilot, and it is very much a pilot, and actually the pilot has become shorter than when we first mooted this, solely down to the fact that we needed to do our checks and balances. We needed NRW to grant the licence, and we would not have been satisfied to grant that without those very, very strict impositions. And we made that very, very clear to Aqua Park. And they have complied with that. And so at times we've pushed back and said, no, we're still not happy until we're content that monitoring and contamination is clear. So with regard to that, NRW have granted the licence and also, again, along with strict conditions to that. And I think what's really important to note is the testing was done, obviously, as part of that licence condition, and that testing will carry on throughout the pilot. And the ecologists are there testing in conjunction with our staff at the park, who put a lot of time and effort and knowledge into the Cosmeston. And I think that's really important to note that. This has come about because, yes, we've got the park and it is our greens and blues, but it's about actually what else can we offer to people using our country parks, as well as protect that wildlife. But it's like, what can people actually, what would they like? And it's when we were actually doing the placemaking plans that actually became really apparent, particularly young people, that they wanted further opportunities within the Vale of Glamorgan. And so this, even though those initial discussions were ongoing, this was born out of that. And this is a pure pilot. It will be coming back to Cabinet with a full report. We'll also be going to scrutiny. We've got nothing to hide. And there will be a full and frank report. And if it's not right, it's not right. But it's only by doing that pilot that we will know that. And I think it's quite interesting, and Councillor Ernest talked about that he wasn't aware of that. My understanding is that he was actually copied into those emails that were going on in 23. And we have got the evidence of that. His comments were also, as local member, included in the Cabinet report. And then also at scrutiny as well, which then obviously then came back to Cabinet as well. The response from people, and I know there's been lots of comments on social media, and obviously there are a certain number of keyboard warriors, as we are aware. We've actually had quite a positive response. People are enjoying the activity. And so far, my understanding is that they've actually sold 198 season tickets, so that for people to actually go back throughout that trial period. And then also those jobs that were created as a result of this, even though it is only a pilot at this point, most of those, or quite a number of those jobs, have actually gone to local people. And I think that's really important as well. There's also been skills and training. They've had lifeguard training. And those are skills that they can take with them for the future. That's not just for this activity, it's recognised qualifications. So I ask that we give this chance. We do a pilot. Well, the pilot is actually ongoing. And then we make a decision from there. And as I said, and if it is not right for that area, it is not right for that area. However, everything I've seen and all the conditions, the licence conditions and the ecology reports, I am content that wildlife is protected on Cosmeston Lake, which is absolutely paramount to us. So thank you.
Councillor Brooks, you are at time. Councillor Haynes. Oh, sorry, Councillor Marnie first. Councillor Marnie, have you pressed your button? Are you there, Councillor Marnie? We'll go to Councillor Haynes and then come back to you.
Hang on, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
My apologies. Problem with the button there. I'd just like to make a brief statement, actually, given I've been mentioned in passing, not by name, but by nature of the Surrey ward, is that I was first, to my recollection, in fact, I've got in front of me the email here now, I was first notified of these proposals in March of this year. I just want to make a statement. I'm going to read two very brief sentences out of the communication I sent back to the Cabinet via Marcus Goldsworthy. And that response was, whilst I welcome public physical activities and possible income streams, I would be against any activities at this location which might cause too much noise, disruption and distress to the waterborne and land-based wildlife to this location, or irritation to those enjoying the peaceful nature of this park. I remember previous proposals for wakeboarding tow wire setup, complete with tower, and a camping chalet type area on the backfield near to the medieval village, which quite frankly horrified me, given the nature of the park before both ideas. Both of these thankfully seem to have disappeared of late. That still remains my opinion. I have also asked that any trial be given the provision of a week's cancellation in notice if this causes to be a problem as well. So I just thought I'd like to make that clear, my position. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Marnie. Councillor Haynes.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll be brief because I'm mindful that other people on the back row might want to speak. I think we can agree that Cosmeston Lakes are a sanctuary of biodiversity, tranquility and community heritage. The Vale of Glamorgan's Council's decision to trial an aqua park on the eastern lake may seem like harmless entertainment, but beneath the surface lies a troubling disregard for the park's ecological integrity and its purpose as a protected natural space. Conservation groups, including Wildlife Trust of South and West Wales, have raised serious concerns about the impact on local bird life and waterfowl populations. This isn't about inflatables, it's about irreversible damage to fragile ecosystems. Now, over 7,000 residents have signed a petition urging the Welsh Government to intervene. That's not a fringe movement, it's a community speaking with one voice. I'm not against leisure, but I'm against sacrificing nature for short-term profit. This Labour Lantic Major First administration claims this will generate income, but at what cost? Once we commercialise our green spaces, we risk losing what makes them special forever. Cosmeston is not Cardiff Bay. It's a place of peace, reflection and wildlife. Turning it into a seasonal theme park undermines its very identity. Let's not trade serenity for splash zones. Let us protect what we cannot replace. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes. Councillor Sivignano. Councillor Sivignano, is there a problem?
Yes, no, hold on. There is no problem now.
Great.
Thank you. And first of all, can I say that I wholeheartedly agree with Councillor Lloyd Selby's remarks that she made earlier, and I think she very clearly summarised the scrutiny that's taken place around this issue. And I appreciate that the Aqua Park doesn't fit in with some people's view of leisure and fun in a country park. I also appreciate that for some people, that they will have concerns about nature and wildlife, and all of these have been taken into consideration. I also appreciate that some people just don't like change. But it's my job as an elected member and as a cabinet member to make decisions and support projects that are to the benefit of all our communities, and in this case, particularly the young. Now, I've heard today that lots of people have had comments from residents against the Aqua Park. I can tell you that I've been stopped in Penarth on a number of occasions by parents, by young people, telling me that this is such a good idea. You know, there is a balance to be had. And actually, I wanted to read an extract, if I may, from a resident has sent me a letter that he's sent to the Penarth Times in response to a recent visit they had and the article that was written. And he says, I read your article in the Penarth Times on the Aqua Park coming to Cosmeston, and I just wanted to relay another side. As a father of 2 kids living in Penarth, our family and many friends have enjoyed the Aqua Park. I get depressed when I see this one-sided alarmist debate being pushed by a few who think Cosmeston is theirs and not an asset to everyone in the locality and beyond. And I think there needs to be more balance. And I'd like to thank that resident because I think he summarises very much, I think, what the council is trying to do with Cosmeston. When we conducted our survey, listening to the people in the Vale of Glamorgan, what we did hear and what we listened to is the fact that young people feel that there needs to be more leisure activity, more opportunities for leisure activity aimed at them, at young people and young families. And for me, the Aqua Park represents a balance. And really, the Aqua Park offers a balanced, positive opportunity for all our communities. It encourages healthy, positive lifestyles. It supports, it really does support conservation-friendly revenue in a really actually well-managed environment. And lastly, it represents, for me, sustainable investment in our leisure and well-being. So I certainly won't be supporting this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Sivignano. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Chair. OK, I'm a land at First Independence, so I think it's appropriate that I speak. We've heard the justifications of the varying views within this committee tonight. I need to balance it because just as we were talking about, I recognise you've got 7,000 signatories against it, and that's easily to achieve when you focus on people and say, right, we're against this. You bring them all together. We don't do that for people that want it. It's just they're assuming that we as a council will look at the viability and the impacts of what we do before we do it. And it's been quite clear that we've done due diligence. We've ensured that no decision was made unless all the criteria were met as far as the environmental impacts, even the water qualities, and they've all been checked out by experts outside of the council. And we're utilising their expertise rather than any rhetoric. I would like to go on to the request that urgent procedure was mentioned. The reason for that was not because we wanted to rush the decision through, it was because there was a late application. We'd gone through a whole process of checking with the Aqua Parks company. We need to meet these criteria before we can agree to it. And they came with a last minute decision, so we went forward with it because we'd already delayed the project as it was. We wanted to see the pilot to see if it'll make, to see what impact it'll have. I've taken views and understood from councillors, and I you know, we've impacted on various other elements of society, not just the local members, but I'm speaking from somebody that lives in Lantern Major on the eastern side, and I know that families have said to me, I know it's not 7,000, but I know the families there have said it's fabulous. The whole of Vale uses Cosmeston. It doesn't belong to just the people around that site. And I know it's difficult for them to accept this, but I'm hoping that this pilot will demonstrate that there has been no impact on this particular park. That's all I can do. I don't know what the answer is at the moment, but at least the monitoring's taking place, which I think, having listened to the experts, it's going to be safe. It is being monitored. I don't think this is a bad thing when we're providing something for a wider part of society. And that is the view of the Lantern First Independents, which is aligned to the Labour administration and many residents within the Vale of Glamorgan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. I would like to say we've only got 7 minutes now left and we still have a number of people willing to speak. So if we can keep that brief, that would be appreciated. Councillor Johnson.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much. If you could quickly prepare. Great. Any development in Cosmeston is going to be very controversial. I do remember the conversation almost a decade ago about the wakeboarding, as the councillor referenced earlier. And I did bring this to the attention of the planning committee, and in the end, they did withdraw it, and it was refused. What worries me, well, what's interesting to me, is that this supposedly doesn't require any planning permission for this to go forward. So this is something that the council is able to decide to go ahead with, and so there is no other way, apart from the conversation, the discussion tonight, for us to have a voice on this matter. And of course, within the scrutiny committee, a number of people have mentioned the scrutiny committee, and this came before them very late as an additional matter. It wasn't something that people had an awful lot of time to discuss, to talk with other people within the community before this came before the committee. This was almost dropped on people. So despite people saying, yes, this went to committee, it did go late to committee. And this all went through in about a fortnight at the beginning of March. And we are where we are now. I do have strong concerns about this. The committee has talked about a nature emergency, but still intends to go ahead with something like this instead of putting any sort of precautionary principles in line. And we will see what happens after this probationary period ends, of course, this trial period. I don't know how much the council is getting monetarily for this. This is part of our plans for increasing the council's income, of course. So this is relevant to the discussion, and I haven't heard any figures being mentioned yet. Only principal arguments. So if we can return to the offer, to the proposal, I understand we have discussed this for 40 minutes without anyone suggesting an improvement, that we intended Llanwit to vote against, but I'd like to say most certainly to Carol and to Thomas, to those councillors, that the third bullet point, which refers to the leader, is not relevant. and to the offer that they are making to their proposal. And I would like them to withdraw the third bullet point, the one that refers to the leader of this council, because there is a sincere process for dealing with any genuine complaints of that nature, which is the code of behaviour for members, which is the ombudsman, which is the monitoring officer. Those are appropriate. I'm very happy to agree with the first point, but if it would help the cause, I think it would help the Conservatives' cause if they withdrew the third bullet point and put any complaints they had through the appropriate channels. Thank you.
Councillor Carroll, would you like to respond to Councillor Johnson? On the last point about amending.
Will the Plaid Cymru Group support the motion with point 3 in place?
So will you support it with point 3 in place?
Debate and decide it, because you've been asked to withdraw something. You can't counter a question with a question, Councillor Carroll.
My point is that point 3 is relevant to this debate.
Okay, so we'll continue debating. Councillor Payne. It does seem to be taking a little bit of time this evening. Give it a second.
Yeah, we're on. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Madam Mayor. As a regular user of Cosmeston, either dog walking, doing RSPB, bird watching over the years, on the play park with my son, extremely noisy play park, by the way, and going to Cosmeston on a sunny day, which is possibly a very, very loud nature reserve, lots of screaming children, lots of barking dogs, horses up and down the bridleways, I would contest that it is a very quiet place. It isn't always. That's my first point. So I'm a regular user over the years, but also I also lived in the Midlands, and I lived next to a place called Kingsbury Water Park, which is a multi-use lake area with water sports, nature reserves, conservation areas. It works really, really well. They use the revenue from their entrances. I lived there in the 80s, and you had to pay then in the 80s to go in. That revenue was used to back up the conservation work. So also in my day job, I work with young people. And with all due respect, Councillor Carroll, I don't know what teenagers you spoke to, but the ones I work with and I've worked over for 44 years, and the ones I speak to now are absolutely thrilled that they've got something, particularly adolescent age. So you're looking at 12 to 18, absolutely delighted that they'll have something else to do. As you know, we've been defunded nationally as 14 years of Tory austerity, so we don't have many youth services left in the UK. So they are absolutely delighted. I also have had some positive feedback from those who've used it. And one of the things we're doing as a staff team with Lamai is one of my staff members came to me and said, can we do team building at Aqua Park? So that's one of the really, really good things. So I want to put a positive spin on that. It's not all negative. People do want to use it. They do want something new. And, you know, we need to provide things around well-being and physical activities for young people, as we know, who sometimes lead a sedentary lifestyle. So I would welcome it, and I would be not supporting this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Charles.
Thank you. I don't wish to repeat what my Conservative colleagues have said. I do concur with them, but my biggest worry and the questions that families in Barry particularly have asked me is, was Cosmeston chosen because of its priority to Cardiff, where I suspect the majority of prospective users will come from, not the Vale. I'm pleased that there seems to be a lot of money in Penarth and they're being able to buy their season tickets. But do you expect that many of families will be able to pay £23
I'm sorry,
per
can we
person?
pay respect to the people speaking? Thank you.
Do you expect that many families will be able to pay £23 per person per hour to use the facility? This is beyond the budget of an average family with 2 children. Also having to pay car park charges on top of that. Thank you for listening.
Councillor Thomas.
Thanks, Chair Dion Clywyd, and thank you to everyone for the debate this evening. The Welsh Conservative motion tonight expresses what a large number of people in Penarth and beyond are feeling about the situation regarding the Aqua Park at Cosmeston. Indeed, more than 7,000 people have signed the petition, a clear demonstration of the strength of feeling in the local community about the way this whole situation has been managed. Those concerns are valid and are widely held. Those concerns are about the location of the Aqua Park and what it means for Cosmeston Lakes, but also about the manner in which this entire process has been carried out. Indeed, as I said to the Aqua Park owners at the time, let's have an open dialogue involving the local community, which never actually happened thanks to the council. Local Conservatives are concerned that an appropriate consultation process wasn't undertaken, and as happens all too often with this council, decisions are made that completely ignored the wishes of local people. And as other councillors have said, we should hear from a broad range of people with all points of view. So a full and fair consultation should have happened, one that involves the people of Penarth, who are after all the ones most affected by this decision. And that should be a prerequisite for any decision of this magnitude, and not something to be disregarded as has happened in this case. Penarthians have a right to be heard, but it seems that the Vale Council doesn't agree. And now we have emails obtained by FOI by the Save Cosmeston group that seem to suggest a council officer wanted to, quote, avoid any sort of publicity about the plan, and that a, quote, 15-year term for the Aqua Park was on the table, and that was in January of this year. That's quite concerning, and I think we need clarity from leader or the cabinet about this specific issue, about the timing of this. And I recommend that all councillors support the Welsh Conservative motion. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Diolch, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Perry, can you keep this brief now because we are over time? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm working right, so being super brief. Yeah, there's a danger of any pilot, an experimental vehicle, to be rather like the Titan, and it all goes a bit wrong. So what we're doing is we're providing an immunity for one group, at the same time taking away the immunity from another group without explaining to that group what benefits they might gain from this. There's poor communication and a lack of engagement, which is something this council is widely associated with. There have been information gaps that have been filled by others. And if we don't like that information that's being provided by others, we should have made sure we provided the information first. So, yes, there's been a lot of attacks, which are unacceptable, but residents are entitled to disagree with executive orders, as are members of the council. There are people who feel rather unrepresented by this council, not just on this occasion, but on other occasions. And I can remember a school being refused planning permission by the planning committee because of a lack of engagement by this council with the local community. Healthy opportunity is fantastic, yet in Bombleston we're down to lose a wonderful piece of public open space. There are people wanting the Aqua Park, but those same people actually don't want it in the proposed location or where it is actually now. So they're saying, we want an Aqua Park, but it needs to be in the right place, right Aqua Park, right place. I'll sum up, I've been super quick, and I kind of agree with Ian Johnson on point 3. Obviously there's been a lot of personal attacks, and I seem to be a magnet for them. So I would like George Carroll and his guys to please consider just dropping point 3 or rewording it, and let's try and lift the debate level, please. But otherwise, points 1 and 2, I fully agree with.
Councillor Carroll, you're right to reply.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and I thank all members who have contributed to this debate. It is regrettable that from the speeches that have been made, it appears as though this motion will fail. Councillor Franks began by stating that members of the public have been treated with contempt and that the matter has been handled very badly, and that is something with which I would agree. In her remarks, Councillor Burnett and a number of other members suggested that the motion amounted to a personal attack. With respect, I will reject that. The Councillor Burnett is the leader of this authority. It has a revenue budget of around £300 million. The way that our leaders manage processes, take decisions and engage with the public is relevant to how decisions are taken. And in my view, it's symptomatic of how this decision came to be imposed. The fact that members of the public were dismissed rather than consulted throughout the process. I do think it's a relevant point, and for that reason, I included it within the motion, and I intend to keep it within the motion. Councillor Burnett also made a point about the development being a pilot rather than opening, but then went on to say that the Aqua Park would be open from the 5th of July until mid-September or early September. So those 2 points appear to be contradictory. There have been a lot of remarks made in the debate regarding the scrutiny process, but I think this is a red herring. Councillor Ernest himself made the point that he raised concerns about the development throughout that process, rightly so. But as Councillor Johnson stated, this was rushed through. There was a period of around 2 weeks. This is the first time that I've had the opportunity to discuss this matter because I'm not a member of that committee. This is the first time that full council has discussed it. So I don't think it's right to say that members had the opportunity to oppose this, when in fact this is the first time in which this matter has been brought before full council. Councillor Penn made an allegation that lies had been told throughout the process, but then was, at least in the debate, unwilling to substantiate further on that point. So there's not really much more I can say to address that. He also claimed widespread public support for the Aqua Park, but as has been mentioned several times within this debate, the petition against the development has achieved 7,000 signatures, which to me suggests widespread public opposition. Councillor Brooks suggested, as the cabinet member responsible, that the authority had nothing to hide, but within her remarks, she certainly didn't adequately address the points that were raised about the emails that have come to light today. And throughout this debate, I haven't received an adequate response on that, and I will continue pressing it because it is a matter, if those emails are accurate, of serious public concern. Councillor Marnie, despite being the ward member for Cosmeston, I appreciate the Aqua Park is located just outside his ward, but the community in question is very much within the Surrey ward, said that he was first told about this in March this year. And he set out what I considered to be a fair and balanced approach to the matter. Councillor Haynes was right to say that Cosmeston is not Cardiff Bay, and while Councillor Sivanyanam stated that it would benefit the young, this development, that does contradict the conversations that I've had with younger people on this matter, though I accept different opinions vary, but anecdotally that's not the reflection of the situation that I've received. Councillor Williams suggested that 7,000 signatures on a petition was easy to achieve. I dispute that. I think that it is a significant number. It includes residents of my own ward. I would suggest that 7,000 is a lot larger than the number of votes many, if not most, elected members of this ward, of this council achieved, although I'm willing to be corrected on the arithmetic on that point. So we've tabled this motion in good faith this evening. We don't think that this development is in any way appropriate. I reject the claims by some members that Cosmeston is not peaceful, tranquil and quiet. I very much take the view that it is. I would urge all members to support this motion this evening. I think that it's time for this council to think again on this. That Aqua Park is not suitable for Cosmeston. There are other places that it could go. So let's support this motion, remove the Aqua Park, and have a fairer and more balanced approach to this moving forward. And I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. We'll take this to Chief for a vote. Yeah, sorry, Councillor Johnson.
Just confirming that we're having a recorded vote on this.
Of course. Councillor Perry, did you have something to say?
No, I'm just worried that we can't split it and have 3 votes on this.
Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. No, for the benefit of members, it is one motion, so it's one vote. So I think you're all aware of the system by now. So if you're in favour with the motion, it's the plus button on your keypad. If you're against, it's the minus. So if you wish to abstain, it's the one in the middle. For or against. So I think the vote's open, Amy. Yeah, we've opened the vote, and it is a recorded vote. So we'll highlight the results of that vote at the end. Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Avia, did you want to speak? I think your button's been pressed.
No.
Why? Amy, can you share the results? Okay, Councillor Fisher, are you going to vote? Is there anyone else there, Amy? Okay. It won't make a difference anyway. He's disconnected. Okay, thank you. So we have 18 for the motion, 27 against the motion, so that's not carried. We are going to take a 5-minute break before member questions, so we will come back at 7:55, if that's okay. Thank you. Okay, can we take our seats, everyone, please? Thank you. It is 7:55.
Can we get back to seats, please?
Thank you, everyone. Can we move on to agenda item 10, members' questions? Let's start with question 1 regarding Cosmeston Aqua Park from Councillor Franks to Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. I can confirm that a report will be brought back to Cabinet and placed scrutiny following the conclusion of the trial in the autumn, which will include an assessment of the success or otherwise of the pilot. The assessment will be undertaken to consider environmental sustainability, community impact, including any antisocial behaviour, visitor enjoyment and financial viability, and will include a recommendation for the future based on the assessment.
Councillor Franks, do you have a question?
Yes, please. Thank you for that answer. I'm hoping that you can confirm that we will have a full profits and costs involved as quickly as possible after the conclusion of this pilot.
Councillor Brooks.
As already responded, the assessment will come back to Cabinet under scrutiny and will include a financial viability.
Thank you. Question 2 regarding litter bins from Councillor Cowp to Councillor Wilson.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cowp, for your question. And this is my reply. Council officers regularly undertake cleanliness inspections of our streets as part of our requirements under the Environmental Protection Act 1990. Several streets are inspected each week and their cleanliness recorded against the criteria set out in the Act, which takes into account areas of high footfall, requiring these areas to be cleansed more frequently than those that are less heavily trafficked. An assessment of these inspections before and after has not indicated any marked decrease in the standards of cleanliness in areas where litter bins have been removed. In some cases, there are instances of litter being left where the bins have been previously located, but this soon stopped. We do, however, have a few hotspot areas where the remaining bins are filled more quickly than the entry and frequency can effectively address, and work is ongoing in these locations to establish the reasons for this. Though it is clear that several of these bins are filled prematurely due to bags of domestic waste being deposited within them. We will continue to assess the outcomes of these inspections over the next few months, but the early indications are that most of our residents and visitors are either finding other nearby litter bins to use or taking a litter home with them. And that's my answer.
Councillor Cowp, do you have a supplementary question? Okay, we'll move on to question 3 regarding school holiday activities from Councillor Asprey to Councillor Birch. Councillor Franks, sorry, is that a legacy hand? And we'll move on to Councillor Birch. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Food and Fun is a school-based education programme that provides food and nutrition education, physical activity, enrichment sessions and healthy meals to children during the school summer holidays with a community-focused ethos. Starting as a pilot in 2015, Food and Fun has developed into a national, fully funded Welsh Government programme administered by the Welsh Local Government Association. In 2024, 205 schools delivered the programme and provided over 13,040 places for children each day that it ran. The WLGA will continue to roll out the programme by working closely with local authorities and partner agencies. Here in the Vale of Glamorgan, we have grown the scheme by 50% to 6 schools across the primary and secondary sectors, running this scheme this year in 2025. The Vale's local authority trading company, Big Fresh, are working closely with the schools as the lead coordinator to help implement the scheme for 12 days over the summer break. The 6 participating schools include Cadoxton Primary, Colcott Primary, Holton Road Primary, Oakfield Primary, Palmerston Primary and Pencoitra High. The Family Information Service also signposts to a range of activities, including those through the medium of Welsh, being held over the summer holidays by the Council and wider organisations within the Vale, with this information available on the Family Information Service webpage on the Council website.
Thank you, Councillor Birch. Councillor Asprey? Okay, we'll move on to...
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I would rather, I just would like to see it more, perhaps, through the Welsh medium in future years throughout the Vale, if possible.
Well, that's certainly something we can look into. It's going to be dependent on, obviously, finances and also getting the staff who are available to be able to, deliver services through the medium of Welsh.
Thank you. Question 4, Ysgol Llyn from Councillor Johnson to Councillor Birch.
Thank you for the question. The Llyn programme is currently on track for completion by May 26. Construction activities on site are progressing well, supported by the recent appointment of Morgan Sindel as the principal contractor. Their mobilisation has been effective, and early indications suggest a positive impact on programme delivery and site coordination. The project team continues to monitor progress closely to ensure milestones are met and any emerging risks are addressed in a timely manner. Ysgol currently operates several provisions across the Vale of Glamorgan and continues to expand at pace to meet a significant increase in need and complexity for our most vulnerable pupils in line with our statutory requirements. In terms of our specialist provision estate, the early intervention base at St Joseph's has recently been reconfigured as a service to meet the needs of more pupils in mainstream. The Ysgol Barry campus, the former site of St Barrack, continues to be at full capacity, successfully meeting the needs of learners with a variety of additional learning needs. The main Ysgol site in the Penarth learning community remains over capacity, and while accommodation is operationalised, the school has repurposed the hall, the common room, the therapy room and breakout rooms to temporarily accommodate classes at the start of term. The Derry Newydd site is also at full capacity, accommodating a significant increase in demand across the primary and secondary phases. This provision serves pupils with the most challenging social, emotional and mental health, SEMH. Clean Darrow at Cosmeston will become the Ysgol sixth form provision, meeting the needs of a range of additional learning needs, including pupils who are classified as EBSA, emotionally based school avoidance. There will be 120 learners on this site. Ysgol also supports several provisions based and operated in mainstream school settings via their outreach service to ensure that wherever possible, children can remain in their mainstream setting.
Thank you. Question 5, Cosmeston Aqua Park support from Councillor Carroll to Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. The Council has received and continues to receive correspondence from the public regarding the decision to trial the Aqua Park in Cosmeston. And I can confirm that a report will be brought to back to Cabinet and place scrutiny following the conclusion of the pilot. As part of this assessment, the correspondence received will be considered and tabulated, but given the ongoing nature of the trial, it would not be appropriate to provide numbers at this time. The assessment will also consider environmental sustainability, community impact, including any antisocial behaviour, visitor enjoyment and financial viability, and will include a recommendation for the future based on that assessment. I think it's worth noting that a balanced article in the Penarth Times this week showed us that as well as the negative response to the trial, there is a significant positive response. And I think if you read that report, they thoroughly enjoyed their time there and they went away with a change of mind. And then we've also been advised that over 550 visitors attended the Aqua Park over its first weekend with no issues being reported. Thank you.
Councillor Carroll.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I do find it quite astonishing that the administration claims that this development is popular, yet it's apparently, at this stage at least, unwilling to share the nature of the correspondence in question. So my question, Madam Mayor, is given these circumstances, how are residents expected to believe that their concerns are being taken on board when the administration won't reveal how many responses to the consultation that have been submitted?
Perhaps Councillor Carroll didn't listen to my response. I've put that there. The correspondence received will be considered and tabulated as part of that assessment report.
Question 6, Cosmeston Aqua Park, from Councillor Thomas to Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. The council was originally approached by the Aqua Park operator with a request to use the Eastern Lake in Cosmeston in late 2023, as you're aware. At that time, they were looking for a permanent venue to host the Aqua Park and to move from Cardiff Bay. At that time, you were unwilling to consider the type of long-term arrangement that the Aqua Park was looking for, at that time without a trial to fully assess the possible impact of the park on the Eastern Lake. The operators went away to look at other possible sites but were unsuccessful due to a lack of suitable alternative sites in South East Wales. Following ongoing issues with Cardiff Bay, the company approached the council again in late 2024 and advised that they were willing to operate on a pilot basis with no commitment to continue beyond the summer period of 2025, so that a full assessment could be made of the appropriateness of the use in the Eastern Lake. The Cabinet decision of the 6th and 20th of March 2025 refers to this decision, and if necessary, a link can be provided to any member who's not yet had the opportunity to read the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 7, regarding Cosmeston Wildlife, from Councillor Ernest to Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Mayor. Contrary to this statement, ACID Ecology has prepared 2 reports relating to both general ecological issues and focusing specifically on Ketty warblers. These reports are available on the Council's website, and a link can be provided to all members should they need one. ACID Ecology are also carrying out monitoring of the Eastern Lake over the duration of the siting of the water park and will be reporting back at the end of the trial. The reports have been prepared in consultation with NRW and have reflected the advice received. There is not considered to be any risk to nesting birds or any other ecological interests, and the ongoing monitoring by ACID Ecology will ensure this. Thank you.
Councillor Ernest.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Cabinet Member, for that response. Will you, as Cabinet Member, please tell us what other endangered species are present in or near the Eastern Lake? Thank you.
I haven't got a response to that off the top of my head, but there has been a full ecological report, which if you have a look at that report, will be in there. And as I say, we can actually send you the link if you haven't had a chance to read it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question 8, perception of the Council's administration, from Councillor Carroll to Councillor Burnett, the leader.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Carroll. As you will be aware, the Council's constitution, which is publicly available, outlines a range of processes and functions in place to ensure that decisions are made democratically. The statutory monitoring officer is responsible for the Council's legal governance. Decision-making processes are primarily through Cabinet, with some through Council. While there are times when decisions need to be made urgently, these are reported to all members appropriately. So you've all seen reports on emergency things, as in tonight, use of urgency procedure. When decisions are made, whether they be hyperlocal or county-wide, they're evidence-based and consider elements such as data, wider research and engagement findings from the people of the Vale of Glamorgan, alongside how to most productively use our resources and assets as a council for both now and into the future. In the most sustainable way, we consider the principles of the Wellbeing of Future Generations Wales Act. But we all know that after 14 years of austerity, we face a challenging socio-economic environment where tough decisions are made, and not all residents will be satisfied with all decisions. But we must make decisions which are evidence-based, which is why we sometimes pilot things, as we try to improve longer outcomes for the Vale. We live in a democracy where people are more than entitled to express their opinions, particularly on social media. However, there is a fine line with this, as members will be aware. It is important to distinguish between what is genuine scrutiny of decisions, which is welcome and necessary in a democracy, and what is ill-informed rhetoric founded upon misinformation and mischaracterisation of decisions being repeated publicly. I can quote a few occasions where there's stuff that's been printed online, quotes from members of this council saying that this council acted illegally. It's ridiculous. I've had letters to me saying that we didn't take something to cabinet or scrutiny when the individual spoke twice at that scrutiny. And before I could answer the letter, they published it online. This is where public perceptions are challenged and can have a negative impact on democracy within the Vale. It's also where abuse and intimidation of elected members can occur. And I'm just celebrating my 13-year anniversary of my first serious abuse online. We all have a part to play in accurately reflecting the business and decisions made in this place. Indeed, as group leaders, we are also responsible for the conduct of our party members. As I said, to read public comments by members that decisions had been rushed through, and we've had it again tonight, but I can only speak once to challenge you. But you know who raised it. They said that we rushed things through using emergency powers and avoided public scrutiny when both had been publicly considered by both Cabinet and Scrutiny Committee, and both members had contributed to the debate. While all external regulators view this council as a good council, perhaps you might like to look a little closer to home for the cause of any such inaccurate perceptions.
Councillor Carroll.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Does the leader not accept that her council's decision to cut the number of scrutiny committees overseeing her cabinet's work, at the same time as it has imposed controversial and unpopular plans to open an aqua park at Cosmeston Lakes, undermines the notion that her council welcomes scrutiny and being held to account?
Totally predictable.
Hang on. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Are there no depths? We had 5 scrutiny committees at the time when that went to scrutiny. But as Councillor Carroll would be aware, and it was also, it was fully discussed. The minutes demonstrate that. But as Councillor Carroll will be aware, some of the standard of debate and consideration and scrutiny wasn't actually coming forward with the type of outcomes that we all would want. The level of recommendations based on evidence. And so we'll shortly be having our first joint scrutiny, where hopefully we will improve the level of scrutiny on performance. And I will look forward to that, to see whether or not we can achieve an improvement, because the standard of scrutiny in this council, and none of the executive are members of scrutiny, the standard of scrutiny in this council was actually raised as a challenge for us in the panel performance assessment. And so we are trying to move forward, because that's how you get effective governance. Thank you, Councillor Carroll.
Councillor Godfrey, do you have a point of order?
Thank you, Lady Mayor. The leader has alluded again to 14 years of austerity, and it's repeatedly
Is this a point of
mentioned.
order? Is this something against the Constitution?
The point of order is that we experienced 2 years of COVID lockdown, and irrespective of
No,
which
I'm
party
really
was
sorry.
in power,
Councillor Godfrey, that's not a point of order. A point of order is pointing out a problem with the Constitution. Are you pointing out that someone has broken rules?
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Godfrey. Question 9, car parking, from Councillor Godfrey to Councillor Wilson.
I am a little surprised at your question, Councillor Godfrey, which we received on the 3rd July 2025 as the Cabinet Papers featuring 3 reports on car parking, including an update car parking guiding principles document, which was published on the Council's website on Friday the 27th of June 2025. This information was therefore all available for you to view when you submitted your question. I would therefore refer you to these Cabinet Papers and suggest in particular that you read the Car Parking Guiding Principles June 2025 document.
Go ahead, Councillor Godfrey.
Thank you. Thank you for the response, Councillor Wilson. But I've not read anything yet that's relevant to my major concern, which is with regards to Marie Curie Home Towers Hospice in Penarth. As we all know, it's an area of a great sensitivity, both to those working and having to visit there, and obviously having to spend any period of time. My major concern is that, like other hospitals, like Llandoch and the Heath, I believe there's limited parking inside the hospital.
Councillor Godfrey, do you have a question? Do you have a question?
Yeah, the question is, why can't we put a machine inside the hospital so people can put their registration in, so they can alleviate the stress and concern of possibly getting a parking ticket at a very sensitive time in their lives and their relatives' lives.
Thank you, Councillor Godfrey. Councillor Wilson.
Yeah, I believe that would be a matter for the hospice itself to control its registration. Just as another point of what you're saying there, as you know, on-street parking is subject to 21 days public consultation.
Thank you. Question 10 on the revised local development plan, from Councillor Haynes to Councillor Brooks.
No, to Councillor Sivignano.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Sivignano.
Thank you, Councillor Haynes. So further clarity will be sought from the UK government regarding the funding opportunities for St Athan. But as the evidence base for the RLDP is developed further, the council will continue to assess and consider the proposed allocations and their relationship to not only transport options, but also to employment opportunities and other infrastructure.
Councillor Haynes, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Noting that the last tranche of housing in St Athan was about based on 4,000 to 5,000 jobs on Bro Tathan, of which about 1,500 have arrived. Thus, we're over 2,000 in deficit. Can you explain how all these new residents that are planned for St Athan are going to get to work or college by public transport?
I think I've answered your question, that we will continue to look at this going forward with all those options, taking into consideration all those options.
Question 11 regarding the local development plan, from Councillor Carroll to Councillor Sivignano.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll. Through the preparation of the RLDP, the council should only allocate land that will realistically come forward for the development during the plan period. Through discussions with the promoters of the site at North West Barry, it was established that there were deliverability issues due to a lack of formal agreement between the various landowners. So as a consequence, it was necessary to look for alternative sites within Barry, as this is the most sustainable settlement in the Vale in terms of good public transport links, employment opportunities and a wide range of services. And it's also the area with the highest affordable housing need. So following a detailed assessment of the available candidate sites, 3 sites in Barry were identified as being suitable for further consideration, obviously subject to a public consultation to establish the views of a range of stakeholders. And collectively, these sites would deliver nearly 500 much-needed homes, including affordable housing.
Councillor Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does the Cabinet member recognise that imposing almost 400 new dwellings on land at Waycock Cross will severely exacerbate existing congestion problems at the adjacent road junction? And will she commit to rejecting calls for this to be a key site within the plan?
I certainly recognise the need for affordable housing in the Vale of Glamorgan, and I will not apologise for that. It's factual and we need that housing. As he well knows, as Councillor Carroll well knows, this is subject to a consultation and we will look at all the options available around that area.
Thank you. Agenda items 11 and 12. I have no urgent items under part 1, no urgent items under part 2. Enjoy your summers, mwynhewch. I bring this meeting to a close. Diolch yn fawr.